Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Berber, and welcome to the Onward Education podcast, where we will be celebrating and also discussing some of the challenges associated with having a neurodiverse child. So, I am an IRT, or some of you may recognize the term special education teacher, but I am taking a sabbatical this year because I decided that I wanted to make a difference in a different way than the public education system would allow me to do. So here I am. I've had so much experience with children who are neurodiverse and have all these gifts to share with the world, but they think differently than we do. And it takes different strategies to effectively teach and parent them. So that is what this podcast is about. It's about celebrating our children and learning how to help them feel better heard, better understood, and helping you, the parent, feel more confident in your ability to intervene with your child every day. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Barber. Thank you so much for being here today with us on the Onward Education podcast. So we are just a few days into the first week of the 2024-2025 school year. How are you doing? How are your kids doing? If you are in a boat where you've gotten a call already, or maybe an email, or just a nudge from another parent that your child is struggling already, and you're frustrated before the year even starts, I hear you, I see you, and I just want to tell you that you're not alone. There are so many parents right now who are trying to figure out the best ways to support their children, to make sure that their school experience is positive, and to improve their interactions with their children at home. So I just want to start off today by saying that if you are feeling like you are a parenting failure or that you don't know what to do, it's okay. You are not alone. You are not a bad parent. We just need to get some strategies in place to help support your child, figure out where they're struggling emotionally, and then build them up to be able to have a positive experience at school. And that's one of the things that I want to tackle today. So, I'm in the process of working on a social emotional learning curriculum for one of my students. And as I was going through the outline today, I said, I think I'm going to share one of these modules, or just kind of like an overview, I guess I'll say, of one of the modules because it's such an important learning outcome for all our children, not just our children who are neurodiverse, but certainly this specific learning outcome can be a bit of a challenge for our children who are neurodiverse. So, we're going to talk about acknowledging and respecting the feelings of others. So you're probably already saying in your head, oh, yeah, this is a tough one. This is one that my child is struggling with. I know a lot of my students found this one hard. Getting out of their own head and being able to recognize how other people are feeling is not an easy thing for our neurodiverse children specifically. So, the approach that I'm going to suggest today is first to get them in a position where they're able to identify what makes them feel nervous or uncomfortable about other people's behavior, and then to be able to ask the other person politely and respectfully if they can modify their behavior, or if it's more appropriate to find an alternate environment to leave the situation. And then after that, those two skills have been acquired, I'll suggest that you move on to helping your child identify when their behavior has caused someone else to feel uncomfortable or anxious. And then moving on to how to modify their behavior in order to successfully interact with other people so that everyone feels at ease. So let's go back to the beginning. That was kind of the overview. Let's go back to the first step. So first of all, I want you to work with your child to be able to identify what behaviors others might have that annoy them, that frustrate them, or that just make them feel uncomfortable. So a few examples of this in everyday life might be if someone really leans on their horn in the car behind you or in front of you. That might be a situation for your child or for us that feels stressful. It almost kind of it induces panic because we weren't expecting that loud sound. So if you're in the car and this happens, it's a great opportunity to say, that really startled me. That made me feel kind of frustrated. How did it make you feel? And then your child may or may not yet have the vocabulary to be able to say, yeah, that really frightened me, or that made me angry because I was playing my game in the back seat and that made me lose my points, or whatever it might be. Okay. So this is an opportunity to open that conversation and identify, okay, that person did something and it made me feel this way. And then you can actually go on and say, I wonder how that person was feeling. So they lean on the horn. I'm thinking they're having a hard day. So, and you can go through the scenarios. I wonder what happened that made them lean on the horn. Did someone cut them off? Did they get startled because somebody ran across the street quickly? So, this first step is really important because you're allowing them to take inventory of their own emotions and be able to identify how they're feeling while simultaneously getting them to put themselves in the shoes of the other person. Because there's always a story, there's always a why. So it's a really good practice to get our children to be able to understand where the other person could be coming from, while also identifying their own needs and their own reaction to the behavior. So the first step is helping your child identify behavior in others that's causing them to feel uncomfortable, frustrated, stressed, whatever that might be. That's step one. Step two is going to be, if the situation permits, learning how to respectfully ask the other person to stop or modify their behavior. So in the case of the horn, for example, where someone is beeping on the horn, we're not going to get out of the car and ask the person to stop beeping the horn. That's not an appropriate behavior. So in that case, what are some alternate ways of reacting? We can put on headphones. We can turn up the music. We can start a conversation about something else to distract us from the sound. So if we can't ask the person to stop or modify their behavior, then we have to work on helping our children to be able to react or modify their behavior, because we can't control the actions of others. It's really important for our children to understand that. If they are in a situation where they're able to ask the other person to modify their behavior, for example, if they're at a park and there's someone who is constantly pushing or shoving on the swing set or on the slide or whatever it might be. So helping your child work up the courage to be able to say, I don't really like it when you're pushing like that. Can you please stop? And that won't always be well received. We know that. It's still really important for our kids to learn how to do this and to do it in a respectful way. It's standing up for themselves, and it's recognizing that they don't have to accept or tolerate behavior that is hurtful to them. So we have step one, which is identifying the behavior in others that could be bothersome to them. Step two is learning how to respectfully ask the person to modify or stop that behavior if they're able to, or how to modify their own behavior to remove themselves from the situation or make the situation less bothersome. The third step is when we're asking our children to reflect on their behavior. So if, for example, I have a student who really loves to scare people, and that not like scare, but she likes to jump out and say boo and try to scare people around her. That's something she thinks is a game, and we're working through it. So that behavior can be really scary for other kids, for example. Okay. So helping her identify the fact that even though I find this fun, my behavior is making that other person feel nervous, and we can help them identify the body language that tells us the other person is feeling nervous. So when we're playing a game, we're both laughing, we're both smiling, the other person is reacting to our behavior in a positive way. But if we're doing something, we're having fun, the other person, their shoulders are uptight like this, if the other person is not smiling, if the other person is kind of looking around in a bit of an anxious way. So talk about the body language that goes along with the fact that others are not appreciating our behavior and they may be working up the courage to ask us to stop. That's a really valuable lesson. So whenever you are able to take that opportunity to learn with your child, say, how do you think that person felt right after you jumped out at them? And getting them to really go through and think about it and take note of it. It's not something to feel guilty about or something to feel shame about because the intention wasn't there to make someone feel bad. But it is important to discuss it in order to be able to better understand where the other person is coming from. So the next step is to be able to suggest alternate ways of interacting with people that make everyone feel comfortable. So if you're finding, for example, that your child goes on a monologue about a specific topic. So I had a student once who just loved Pokemon. It was the best thing for him. And that was something that he could talk about for a good 15, 20 minutes straight, no, barely taking a breath, certainly not asking for input from the other person. He was really excited to talk about Pokemon. So one of the things that we need to work on was picking up on the cues from the other person to figure out, are they engaging with me? Is this a conversation or am I talking at them? So those types of discussions were helpful for him. And then he got to the point where he would stop himself and say, oh, I'm talking about this, but you don't seem like you know anything about this. Maybe we could pick a different topic. And he got there because we talked about the importance of body cues and reading the other person to make sure that we're having real connection. Because that's what we're all looking for when we're having conversations and we're interacting with others. We want to connect. And it's what we want for our kids too. So this is a super valuable lesson. The last step that I'll discuss today is the importance of helping our kids learn to ask themselves questions. So to ask themselves, okay, how is this person feeling? Is there a way that I could modify my behavior so that when I am interacting with them, I feel like we're having fun, but they're having fun too. So instead of jumping out at them, is there a way that we could have a really cool handshake or something, another way of greeting the person so that it feels like, hey, we're connecting, we're having fun, but the other person isn't scared or nervous. So I hope this resonated with you guys. I know that it's something that's not easy for our neurodiverse kids, and it's certainly not easy for us as parents and teachers trying to help them move towards a healthier way of interacting with others. So I hope these steps will help you move your child towards a position where they're able to really develop healthy and authentic friendships with others. As always, I am cheering for you. Have a great day, everybody.